If you're trying to
Yeah.
prepare too much, you're not in it. Okay, we're live. We are live. Live stream number what? 4, 5, 3, 2. I don't know how many we've done.
I think this is the third.
Might be. Yeah, we did. I think we did some back in the day, maybe as well. If you're including that one.
Yeah.
Mm. We are here on Thursday. What's the date today? I don't even know. Doesn't matter. Technically, time doesn't exist. And we are here on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Oh,
Myself and lovely Arush. And we're going to talk today. What are we talking about? You are moments away from a magical life. We're going to talk all about what it means to have a magical life. And we're going to explore that topic. And so if you are watching, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a little comment to say hello. Where are you listening from? Who are you? It would be lovely to know who's there. And we'd love this to be a conversation, right? Arush and I, we have conversations like this. We can talk for hours. But what we love is when you join in, ask your questions, share your experiences around the topic, any challenges you're having. We're very happy to help with those. So first of all, if you're watching, whatever platform you're on, put a little comment in there to say hello, so we know you're there and we can say hello to you. That would be wonderful. I should get the comments up on my screen, but I'm just going to keep half an eye on the platforms in case, because sometimes it's a little annoying and it doesn't come through on the screen. But yes, please pop a comment. There are 5 people watching. So,
nice.
darling 5 people, comments, please. Say hello. I know one of them because I can see your name. Sneaky,
Yeah.
sneaky. Here we go. Beautiful, Joanne. Nice to see you. Haven't connected with you for a while, darling. I hope you're well. Thanks so much for being here with us. And the man downstairs is watching. Are you going to say hello?
The man downstairs.
The man downstairs here.
Oh, okay.
He's being
I was like,
silent.
I thought that's a username or something. I'm like, oh.
No, that would be a funny one. The man downstairs, love it. No, he'll get a little bit brave in him. There he
Yeah.
is. There he is. Hello, man downstairs. Thanks for watching while you're doing whatever you're doing, wiring and speakers and all sorts of stuff. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hey, we're gonna have a good chat today. We always have a good chat, Rouge. We always have good fun exploring these topics. So today we want to talk about magic. Joanne, Otter, we'd love to hear from you. What does it mean to have a magical life? Arush, what does it mean to have a magical life?
I mean, I'm kind of starting off from a skeptical point of view. I'm like, are we really moments away from magic? Is this really happening? You know, because sort of right now I'm in this flat kind of a rhythm with life. It feels like, and I know this about myself. It's my perception, or it's a habit to not recognize when things are happening. When a decent amount of things happen, it's just always focused on what's not working. So at the moment, in my perception, I'm like, am I moments away from magical life? How do I know, and how do I switch from there? And I think this conversation might just help me get there.
I am with you on that. I am absolutely with you on that. Odd says magic is real. He's had a very magical moment this morning. Maybe he'll share it with us if he wants to. But yeah, I feel the same as you, because I'm like, when we were sitting down this topic, it's like magical life, and I was like, does my daily life feel magical? And I'm like, and I'm really trying to, and I'm like, there are moments of magic, there are periods of magic, there are magical creations, there are goosebumpy moments. But in a lot of my life, I do just feel like I'm more in the mundane as opposed to the magical. It feels like, you say, you're just kind of steadily going along. There's nothing particularly delighting happening. Like, it does happen, but it's the overall state of my life is just like I'm bumbling along. And it feels, I guess, a little dry, a little dull. So I guess the question there comes, am I moments away from magical life? Am I doing something wrong? I think that's what comes up for me as well, is if I think, well, my life should be magical, then does that mean that if I'm not feeling all woo, because to me, when I say magic, it's like, am I feeling like this? Are there amazing things happening all around me? I feel like if I'm not getting that, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something bad? Am I missing something? So that's what comes up for me as well when I think about having a magical life. We got some comment here from Joanne. I know what it is by definition, and yet I hold back from actually living it. I know it's real, and I realized in the last week or so how I've unconsciously kept myself excluded from it. I like that. And that's a story from her too. Yeah, that I'm not doing it right. And often, I don't know about you, Joanne, but I know I do. I like compare myself to other people, right? So you see other people having magical creations, magical experiences. They're so excited about life. You see people on Facebook saying, I wake up so excited about creating my day and magical day. And I'm like, I don't. So what am I doing wrong? And I think, from what we know, that resistance is probably making it worse, sucking us down, lower away from magic and potential of magic. But yeah, I think comparing to other people is very much what comes up for me as well. I feel like everyone else is living this magical life and creating their dreams and waking up in awe and wonder and energy and inspiration every day. And I'm like, oh, I have to work really hard to get myself into that state. And do you know what comes up for me as well? I'll just share one more thing. Is I was writing about this the other day because I've got an inkling of a book I want to write. And it was about that when I was young, I felt very magical in life. When I was a little kid, I would look up at the stars and be like, oh my God, it's so magical. The unknown, the cosmos, the why are we here, the who are we? Like, oh, I got goosebumpy wisdom, excitement. Oh, when I ponder that sort of thing, like, and I felt very magical. And I remember at school, we used to learn about the Egyptians. And for me, that was very magical and mystical. And then I'd start learning about space. And I used to want to work in NASA. I was like, I'm going to work in NASA and look at the stars all day until I realized I wasn't very good at maths and I wasn't smart enough to do it. But all of those things gave me, magic-y goosebumps about life. And I feel like as I've got older, I just can't feel that anymore. Like I look at the stars and I go, oh, it's so nice. But I don't feel that wonder, that awe, that possibility, that goosebumpy. And I think that's what I'm searching for, rightly or wrongly. Maybe you'll help me see, Arush, if that's really what magic is, or is that what magic is? If you say you're living a magical life, does that mean you always have to be goosebumpy? And
I wouldn't think so. Because, at the end of the day, we are human. We have bad days. Everyone has bad days. Everyone has shit time sometimes. And I think what would qualify as a magical life is that you end up achieving your biggest dreams in unexpected ways, not through hard work, not through this linear focus and hard work kind of a pattern, but just unexpectedly, and happens on the outside. It looks easy. On the outside, it looks like absolute coincidence. But at the end of the day, it still happens. It happens very efficiently. It happens in a very how do I say this? It's in almost a very supernatural way, where it's like this makes no sense. So for
yeah.
me, that would qualify as if you can consistently experience that in life. Whether that it's maybe even if it's once a year or once 6 months, but you achieve something that you care about through this synergy, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. I think that would qualify you as someone who's living a magical life. That's what I think.
Then I am living a magical life. Thank you. We are done here. Goodbye. Can I ask you one thing, Arush? I know we just spent ages
Yeah.
faffing with the mic, and I actually think it's not as good as it was before now. Just bring it back out. I think we're fine.
Bring it back to normal.
Bring it back out. Yeah. The world of tech. I'll just put Joanne's comment up, the fear of disappointment, and then that creates the disappointment. Is that a fear of disappointment of like not living a magical life, or disappointing yourself, disappointing others, which creates a disappointment? That's the cycle we get trapped in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, mm, I love what you're saying about how, the synchronicities. For me, that's the thing that's been coming through, is living a magical life is not knowing. You need, in my sense where I'm at with it now, is you have to be okay with not knowing. Because I think this is why, as I've got older, I find it harder to feel the magic. Not that I don't experience it, because we are taught to know. You go to school, you got to know stuff. You go through life, you got to know stuff. You're valued if you know things, if you know facts and figures and information and knowledge. So it's all about how much do I know. But magic comes from the unknown. Magic comes from the unexpected. Magic comes from, like you were saying, things coming about in synchronicities and ways that you could never have thought about in your own head. And that's what delights you and gives you that, oh, wow. And that's when you feel like you're having a magical life. But you can't have that if you're too busy knowing, I know how it should go, I know how it should look, this is how I expect it to be, using only your intellect, your information, your limited perception. I think magic must exist outside of that. And so the reason we don't experience magic, or I think the reason I find it harder to experience, is because I've got more and more into the state of knowing, learning. And so that essence of I don't know, which is what the work we do is all about, I think I find it harder to allow that to allow myself to live daily from a place of not knowing. I don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. I don't know what's going to happen in the next day. I don't know. And that possibility of anything being possible, I think, is what's magical for me. But I'm too busy trying to control it all. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why I don't experience it as much as maybe I could.
Okay, so here's a bit of feedback on that.
Mm.
Um, Living in the unknown is not the first step,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So if you just go to, okay, yeah, I don't know, let's see what happens. Um, that's not very intentful. Anything could happen, yes, but what do you want to exist? So I'll give you a very good example of this. Um, Last year, when I went back to Spain, I had to find a place to live, and I was going in season, and it's just a pain in the ass to find anything there. So I went there. I got a place for about 2 weeks, so that I would have some buffer time to find the place that I actually wanted to live. And what I wanted was a place by the sea, that overlooks the sea. And I'm like, if I'm in Spain, this is what I gotta have. I would love to have that, and it just seemed impossible, especially having it within budget. So I found this place for 2 weeks. I got it through a friend. She was very helpful. Like, honestly, that was like the first thing, unexpected thing. I just put it out there on a group, and she responded saying, "Hey, why don't you just ask me? I've got someone." So I got a place for 2 weeks, and 1 week in, they said, "Hey, I think we've overbooked the place." Oh, actually, I got it for a month. Sorry. And after 2 weeks, they're like, "Hey, we've double booked the place by mistake, so you got to leave in the next week." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to find a place to live in 1 week." And 4 days in, I had nothing. I tried posting it on groups. I tried finding people, nothing. And I was applying the principles that we learn. And one of the things that I just did was I just started communicating my end results. I was just with a friend, and I was just like, you know what? I would love a place by the sea. It feels like this. It looks like this. And I would like to have some nice roommates as well, someone I can really relax with, someone who's very fun and open, and all of those things. And this guy then randomly, so he is someone who never gives me ideas on how to move forward, or he doesn't, he's sort of more like a listener than someone who's gonna, it's like, hey, this all of these things you can do. He's just, he listens. And so I was very surprised when he said, "Hey, there's this Facebook group. Go there, write it down." And I was like, "But I've done that." And he's like, "Yeah, but do it again." I was like, okay. I did it again. 1 day later, some random dude messaged me on there. It's like, "Hey, I have to leave my room in an emergency. Do you want to come see it?" Like, sure. I go to the place. It's the only building that it was in the tallest building in all of Mallorca, 22 floors up. Everything else was half the height of that one, and it faced the sea and the mountains and the sunset over there. And I was like, "What the hell, man? How did I
Yeah.
just find this place?" And it was in budget.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, if you want it, I'll give you the contact of the guy who's renting it out. Speak to him." I get the contact. Turns out he's a friend that I've I've known for a while. I'm like, come on, man, that's
Yeah.
too coincidental.
Yeah.
And so he didn't take any security, any fees from me, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, I trust you, so here you go. You can move in whenever you want. Like, oh, man, that was
I
easy.
love that. And this is when we both went, right? And as you're telling
Yeah.
the story, I'm also got my side of how mine unfolded magically as
Hmm.
well. But what I'm getting in this, firstly, you wanted the sea view. You didn't just get a sea view, you got the whole sea. Because I remember going
Yeah.
up there and you could see
Yeah.
more than you'd ever see from any of this other beachside apartments. And you got the mountains and you got the sunset. And what I love as well is about the story is that you focus on the end result and you hold out for that. You hang with the tension, and it doesn't necessarily come first up, because what we
Yeah.
were going through. So, for some of you don't know, Arush and I went together to Spain, and so I was like, I want the beach apartment, I want the sea, and all of that sort of stuff. And then we weren't able to work it out, and then you got that place because you went a bit earlier than me as well. We had some hiccups, didn't we, where we nearly
Mhm.
signed up for like scams, Airbnb scams, which were they did so well to dupe us. It looked so realistic, the Airbnb email. And I was like, no, something's wrong about this. So there were all this stuff, and it was really hard. And I think I ended up booking a hotel for the first week. And it's the first time I've ever been to a country and not had a place to stay. Because I'm like, that's not me. Some people do it, right? Pack bags, turn up, see what happens. I'm like, control freak. No, I need to have everything set for the 7 weeks I was going to be there. I didn't have it. And then I remember struggling, because like you say, not a lot of availability, especially by the beach, peak season, very expensive. And I'd been looking on Airbnb with you and on my own for weeks and weeks, and nothing was available for a 7-week stay. I didn't want 2 days here, then move there. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I've never gone that out of my comfort zone and just gone somewhere and been like, I'll figure it out when I get there. Oh, we were contacting agents and everything. And oh my God. And I remember going on the first day I landed, I had my hotel for a week. I went to the beach. And I was on the beach just enjoying the sun and the ocean. I remember talking to Rita, and Rita reminded me, she was like, Pinky, what's your end result? What do you truly want? And I was like, I just want this to be looking at the ocean. I want to be 5 minutes from the beach. I want to be, she really anchored me back in my end result. And then literally as soon as I got, and I also went into ocean, which I think was very cleansing for my energy, like really healing, really cleansing, just calms it all down. And then I went on my phone and I went back onto Airbnb, which is probably for the 500th time in the last month, where I found nothing. And immediately I saw an apartment right in a nice location, right by the beach, pretty much 2 minutes from the beach. And it was available for the whole period. And I was like, get it done. I got it. I got in. It was, oh my God. And it happened perfectly in the end. And for me, that was definitely a magical creation. But
Hmm.
to get to that magical experience, I had to hang with the tension and hold out for what I truly wanted, even though I was going through so much hell trying to get there, and confusion and fear. And we both were going through, oh, where are you going to stay? Where am I? And I think that's a key as well for not, I don't want to make it a rule, right? But sometimes if you want the magic, you got to not give in to your lower tendencies and your fears and your need for comfort or your need for perfection or approval or validation or security or whatever. Magic doesn't adhere to those things. And if you are operating in a desire for those things, you cannot have the bigger, better, more magical thing that's awaiting you, because that exists at a whole nother dimension. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people maybe don't experience magical life, because as soon as it gets uncomfortable, they retreat back to the known, back to the logical, back to the smaller vision, back to the what they think is possible, not what seems impossible, but they truly want. So I think there's definitely something there about holding out for that bigger vision, or that true vision, not necessarily bigger, but holding out for that, hanging with the tension. I think that is really key to actually allowing magic to come in.
Hmm.
Yeah, go for it. And then we got a
Yeah.
comment. Yeah.
So what I was saying was, because we were talking about being in the unknown, it's definitely a key thing in experiencing a magical life, but it all begins with your intention. It's like, so what do you want? You got to
Yeah.
decide that first. And the thing is, if what you want is sort of in the realm of possibility, and it's not, you're not going for your highest dream, then you won't really experience magic because it's already all possible. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want some magic, it has to begin with something that you want, that you really care about, and that is, it does seem a bit impossible to achieve from where you stand. And so I think it starts there, and then comes the part of, okay, hang in there, hang in there till the very,
Mm,
very end. Because
mm,
every great creation, every great sort of experience of magic I've had, it has come after a freaking horrible period of just hanging in with the tension all the way till about a breaking point where it's like, okay, if this does not happen in the next 2 hours, I am screwed. And
yeah.
every single time it happens right after that.
Yeah. That's so true. I'm thinking about my like the last year has been very magical and very transformative for me, but also really a lot of tension. But I feel those two have really gone hand in hand. So I'll tell a little bit more about that. My relationship, moving out, getting this home, big, massive shifts in my life, all have come about in incredibly magical ways that I could never have predicted how they were going to happen, but they happened. But I went through hell to get there. And again, I don't want to make it a rule, right? You have to go through hell to get to magic. But it often happens because you're breaking out of what is known and your old paradigms and old structures so that something new, magical things can be birthed. And it's the breaking out of the old that hurts and creates tension. But on the other side of that is magic. Let's Arthur says, I can confirm that she's my magical creation. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's look at the comment from Joanne. So Joanne says, a similar thing happened to me in Ibiza earlier this year. The day I found I had to leave a place, an old acupuncture client of mine contacted me saying she was going back to Ireland for a while and offered me her apartment in my favorite town on my island with an unobstructed view of the Mediterranean. That sounds amazing. And she didn't want anything for it because of all the healing she had from us working together. That is magic.
Wow.
That is a
Yeah.
magical creation, Joanne. So clearly you are magical. You are creating magically. That's absolutely beautiful. And there's just so much that we can experience when we allow these things in. And so I think there was something that we were talking about earlier, and Joanne was sort of agreeing with, is there a resistance to magic, because is magic actually the natural order of things? Is it the natural order? Is life inherently created by magic? Is everything just magic? And what is magic? What actually are we talking about? When we say
Yeah.
magic, what are we talking about? Are we talking about fairy
Mhm.
wands and spells? And what are we even talking about when we say magic?
Oh, that is interesting. So I don't think everything does happen by magic. I think there's definitely an element of, or there's definitely people who, they work hard and they get to where they want to get by working hard. So there's definitely different ways of getting somewhere. But for me, magic is the most efficient, creative way to get somewhere. It's like, um, doing the best that you can do towards going for a big end result that you want, and getting there in an unexpected way. So,
Mm,
and also I do want to address the whole thing of, you go through hell, and then you achieve, and then you sort of experience magic. I mean, that happens on a subconscious, unconscious level, that hell. Because if you look at my end result from the outside, it's like, yeah, you know what, I was in one place, I was told I was supposed to leave, so I went out with friends, I spoke to them, they gave me an idea, and then I had a place. It
mm,
seems very easy on the outside, but what the mind does is it puts you in survival mode. It's like, you're gonna be homeless. You're gonna gonna have no place to stay. These things don't work. There's no one gonna be there to help you or take you in or whatever this is, crisis. And my mind was just like, overloaded with, this is a crisis, save yourself, find a way to save yourself, find something, go somewhere, just get out of this stress, because you're gonna get screwed. But if I hadn't gotten out of that stress, I wouldn't have had the place I had. I would have just
Mm.
gone to some other mediocre place. So on
Yes,
the
you would.
outside,
Yeah.
it looks simple, it looks easy, but it was hell to go through at
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look who's here. Hello, beautiful. How are you, darling? So nice to see you. Hey, we're talking all about magic today. Lucy, we'd love to hear your magical stories. You're a very magical woman. You're very
She's got a
magical.
lot, man. She's gonna eat up all the time if we let her speak.
No, we will. You can have all the time, darling. You can. The floor is yours, Lucy. Tell us your magical stories. What makes your life magical? What have you created that was magical? What made it magical? What is magic? That's the thing we're also asking. What do we mean when we talk about having a magical life? Like, what even is that? Because a lot of these words can have those connotations, right? It's woo woo, which I don't use that word anymore. It's so like out there spiritual stuff. Witchery and all of that, all like people can really take these words and make them mean something that also might stop them from experiencing the glory that this can give you, because they've got their preconceived ideas of what magic really means. So I think it's really nice to explore what magic actually is and how would we define that from our truth. I love what you were saying, Arush, earlier. I wanted you to repeat it because it was beautifully put, but I don't know if you can remember it. But it was something about magic is the most effective way to create what you want in your life. Because we can create through logic, through hard work, through moving the physical things around in the world, through doing things through our intellect. People do create, but that can often be quite hard, quite cumbersome. But I think, like you say, if you look at any person who's achieved something where we'd all go, wow, there was always an element of unknown, unpredictable, synchronicity. And that, I think, is what we're calling magic. It's like there's something else working beyond what you can see. There's consciousness, there's energy, there's things combining, there's something is happening and forming that's beyond what we can actually see. So we're gonna do we're gonna do a couple of comments. We've got one from Arthur and we've got one from, let's just go with Lucy for now as we're talking to Lucy. One moment. I totally resonate with Arush said, if I gave into tension, I wouldn't have my magical mountain retreat in Ghana. That sounds amazing. And I might be in a dingy flat in Leeds. This is it, right? The tension. And I'm so glad you are there and not in a dingy flat in Leeds, Lucy. Absolutely. How amazing. What I love here is that we're gathering people together in this conversation who are all doing magical things and creating magical things, because this is evidence. This is proof. Some people may watch this, like this is on LinkedIn, I don't know if there's many people in this realm of work on LinkedIn, and they might be like, well, what are these weirdos talking about magic? And, but look, these are people creating real life, wonderful experiences, very tangible experiences of what they love, businesses, lifestyles, relationships, all sorts, because they are embodying magical creativity, hanging with tension, knowing their end results, going for it, and also paying attention to the synchronicities that come. So Lucy says faith. Faith has been biggest one for me. Faith in myself combined with faith in something bigger than me supporting my highest good. That's beautiful. I love those words. I love those. I heard something, what is faith? Someone said there was a faith definition and they said it's something about, it's not blind faith, right? But it's faith combined with action. You hold your intention, you hold the faith in your heart, in your soul, in something bigger than you, supporting your growth and your transcendence and your progress, but you're also moving in line with that. So it's not the blinds, so Lucy, I'm sure you would have had to take action, right? You would have had to hang with that tension, keep going for it, do things in the physical as well when they were aligned. That's what also puts energy into the magical creation that's coming to be. So faith and so it's not just sit back and I just believe, I'm just imagining, that's the half why stuff that a lot of us get into. And then we go, why isn't it here yet? I thought it was supposed to be magical. No, you are an active creator. You are an active component of your creator. You are the magician. You are the magician. If you want magic, you got to realize that you are the magician. With your mind, your consciousness, your action, you are actually creating it. So it's not separate from you, that you're waiting for it to come in. It's like you are actually the magician. The wand is in your hand. Got another comment from Arta. I like how Satguru defines magic. Oh, I didn't know he defined magic. As a comparison, if you don't know what electricity is and I flip a switch on the wall and the light goes up, that would feel to you as magic. So magic is everything that happens, but you can't explain how. I like that. That's beautiful. That's really nice. That's exactly it, right? All these things that we can't explain how. And I feel like I wrote about this somewhere. Maybe I wrote it in the text of this when we put the live stream out. I'm sure everyone, even the most disgruntled, logical people in the world who are just fixated on their five senses and think that that's all there is, I'm sure even you could think of magical occurrences where, if we take Otter's description there, is that when something's happening, but you can't explain how that happened and how that occurred, we might call it miracles. You know, something that just occurs. Like Lucy said, there's something bigger supporting. So what is that? And I do believe that, I'm sure everyone has experienced it. And I think if you actually pay attention to that and acknowledge, oh, I did experience that, I think you now are allowing more of that possibility in. Because a lot of the time you don't even want to acknowledge it. You're too busy rushing through your life to notice all the magic and the miracles happening around you, the synchronicities. And actually, I think it's important to stop and reflect and go, oh yeah, there was that, there was that, there was that, there was that. I feel like that's quite important as well. What do you think, Harish? What's coming up?
Yeah, but I do want to expand on that, because magic can also occur in sort of the negative sense, so especially with these people who really go about life in a very logical, practical way, and they sort of don't believe in magic. But what you'll find often with these people is that they believe in bad luck, is they believe that bad things happen to them, and it's just random. So they believe in that sort of magic when bad things happen to them, but when it's time to really go for something that they care about, then magic doesn't exist. So what you'll find is that it's very, how do I say, it's hypocritical in a way, where it's like, yeah, it exists when bad things happen to me. It doesn't when when I gotta go create some good things. And I have so many examples of such people where it's like horrible bad luck, and they believe, yeah, it's bad luck. It's like it's got nothing to do with me. It's just bad luck. It's sort of magic just happened and screwed my life over. It's like, why would you believe in magic over there and not when you can use it to have the good things?
Yeah. So magic is not discerning good, bad, positive, negative, whatever. It's just like, it's the creative force that is creating with you, within you, with you, outside of you, whatever, there, no matter what. And it will give you, is it like the mechanics? Are the mechanics of the universe magic? Is it the mechanics of creation? It's magic.
Well, here's a good example. Star Wars, the Force.
Yeah.
You've got the dark side, you've got the light side. It's the same mechanics in the background. It's just how you use it.
Which one do you choose? How do you use it? Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. How do you use it? Because again, you're the magician. Magic is your birthright, your nature. It's within you. Are you using it consciously? Are you aware of it? And like you say, those people who only focus on stuff when it's bad or it's not, bad luck and so on, they may not realize it, but their magic is creating that. Their magical force within them is creating that. But they're just not aware that they can also choose differently. I want to look at a definition of magic. Say, you can talk while I
Yeah, so I was going to give an example. So I know this person, they have horrible luck when it comes to choosing people. So they went into
As in
business with this,
relationships or just generally
no,
humans?
mostly business related. So
Okay.
they went into business with this person. It had something to do with medicines, I think, and he partnered up with a really, really nice sort of genius level chemist guy. And um, business, the business just took off, and the dude passed away like the day after, just sipping his tea on the balcony, just gone for no reason. That happened, and then similar things happen in different businesses. Like partnered up with someone, that guy stole everything in this. Partnered up with someone, that guy just went to jail for some reason. And it's just like, okay, I mean, you can't say that this is bad luck when you're picking the people. And
Mm,
obviously, it's not very obvious in the beginning when you find someone, they talk well, they say they have got the good things, but you don't know, somehow in the sense of the physical aspect, you don't know, that something's going to go wrong, but yet every single time something goes wrong. So
mm,
where's that coming from? How is that happening? That is not just luck or random events because it happened at least 3 times. So
mm,
you got to look at, okay, is there something in me that is able to just pick out these people who are going to screw things up, and
mm,
who well, not necessarily screw things up, but who are just not going to be involved in this after some time. And the thing is, if you have something in you that can pick that out, if it's so intelligent, this aspect of you, that it can go and pick out these people who are going to go in those directions, then why can't you use it for other things? Why can't you use it to pick out good people, or why can't you use it to um, help someone in their
yeah,
business, and
yeah,
help them organize their business with the right people? So if you have the talent of finding horrible people, why can't you use that talent somewhere else?
yeah. So the mechanics of magic is the mechanics of manifestation, and it's all within you because you're the magician. So many M's,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
you are the magician. And so
Mhm.
if you want a magical life, you have to take that responsibility, own that, and use it consciously. Whereas, like you said, I think a lot of people, because they don't get trained in consciousness, they don't know what's going on, they they maybe don't realize that they are unconsciously creating, using their magical mechanical wisdom, skills, but to create things that they don't actually want. I'm looking at etymology of magic. Give me 1 second. Magic, art of influencing or predicting events and producing marvels using hidden natural forces. Also, supernatural art, especially the art of controlling the actions of spiritual or superhuman beings. Comes from Old French magique, sorcery, magic. Um, to be able to have power. It's interesting because back in the day, it was associated with witches, and then they were burned at the stake. And so I think that's another reason why there's a lot of negativity around this word. People, maybe most mainstream, masses, might shy away from it, think it's weird, or think it's just fairy tale, or see it as bad in some way, because somehow in society and culture over the years, we've been taught to think that it's a bad thing, it's associated with bad things. um, but it is actually your natural state. Yeah, there's lots of definitions here. I won't read them all out. I'm getting too much light in my eyes now. So yeah, now what? Silence while we ponder in
Yeah.
the magic. I was going to tell my story about my magical creations with the man
Mhm.
downstairs. And we can, it really links to what you're saying about the tension and the unpredictability and the things that you can't explain how they happened. Because I had a really tough time last year, particularly during the summer and the autumn. I was in a big, horrible state. There were things I wanted in my life that I couldn't seem to create. I couldn't seem to move forward to. I wanted to move out. I wanted a different place. I wanted all this sort of stuff. And I was in so much tension and so much pain and so much struggle, but I had to just keep getting up every day and going on with life. And I didn't know how anything was going to work. I didn't know. He said, I'm listening. Now I'm nervous to tell our story. Maybe you should tell our story. But yeah, like I was not in a good place. And then I went on mastery. So natural success mastery course, for those of you who don't know. Which I love. The second time I've done the training, and actually I felt horrible on that training. Normally I love training, I love learning. That's the stuff that puts me on my next level, because that's like my genius, that's what I love to do. But I went onto this training course feeling horrible, resistant, tension, but I kept showing up every day. I was like, no, I'm going to do the course. I'm going to do the course. I was on there. I was doing readings for people. I was in groups and I was like, oh God, I feel awful and I'm doing bad readings. And I wasn't, but you know, you always think these things. So I was in a really, really awful place. And then it was on the last day of that training. And bear in mind, at this point, I had been single for more years than I can count. And I was never like desperate for a relationship or anything. I wasn't like, I need to meet someone. But I'd been making my relationship choice for, you know, a couple of years and just hanging with it. And, you know, it was a part of my life. It was there. I was just making the choice. And it was on the last day of that training that Arthur messaged me. He was on the training. There was 90 people on that training. He was on there and he messaged me saying, hey, do you want to hang? Do you want to have coffee? Do you want to? And we just started talking, and it was so obvious so quickly, and it moved so fast. Everything with us was just like, oh my God, this is the relationship. This is the one. And I mean, the way that came about, you know, and then very quickly, then we end up moving in together. And I was struggling before I even met him to move out. And I was like, where am I going to move to? How am I going to move to? Blah, 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 blah. There was all this tension around that. And then literally he comes along, amazing relationship. We move into an amazing home and everything has just been flowing exponentially since then. I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't have made that happen. I couldn't logically foresee any of that. I had in my head the idea of how my moving out was going to go. It didn't involve, I'm going to meet a guy and suddenly it's all going to work and magically and we're going to move in. I didn't think that was going to happen, but it all did. And I went for a lot of pain to get to that point. But when the floodgate opened, because I just kept hanging, I didn't give up. I didn't retreat. I just kept going through that pain, holding my visions, doing the work. And then it just opened up, and it's like the waterfall of just magical experiences and creations coming in. And so for me, that's probably been one of my most magical creations in my life, is our relationship, our home, our experience together. And what did I do to create that? Why did that magic come in? I don't know, because life is magical. It is magical. I don't know. I held the result. I held the tension. I didn't give in. But, you know, this is it. It's things you can't explain. You know, I can't explain that. I can just tell you that it happened. And I can just tell you it was wonderfully magical and synchronistic and effortless and easy. I can just tell you that. And that for me is my testament to magic in life. One of my main testaments, really, when I think about it. But there's loads of things that have happened magically throughout my life. And so, you know, having had this conversation, Arush, I came into the conversation thinking, oh, am I really magical? Is my life really magical? And now just talking to you for a bit about it, I'm like, actually, it really is very magical. Because it's not that every single second is, wow, wow, wow. It'd probably be a bit overwhelming. If you imagine in every single second, every creation, everything you wanted was magically dropping in, I might explode with like, oh God, it's too much, you know? So it's not that we don't have the human aspects, you know, the less supernatural aspects of our being and expressing and living and experiencing those. It's not that we don't have the hard times and the mundane times, you know, when things are just simmering. But my life is just accented all the way through by wonderfully magical moments and synchronicities and experiences and creations from young as well, not just from since doing this work. I think this work has made it exponential and taken it to a whole nother level. But I think I've always had a lot of magic in my life, even though I've also had a lot of suffering. And so again, I think it just takes me back to, I think we all have it. I don't know. I just feel like everyone has it. They maybe just don't recognize it. Maybe they're not experiencing it as much, but I'm sure everyone has little experiences of magic that can make them go, oh wow, okay, there's something more here. And when you think about that awareness that there is something more here, we're not just physical beings. We know everything is energy. Everything is energy, consciousness, frequency, vibration. And so it's pondering that, I feel. It's pondering that there's more. I don't know where I'm going with that. You go.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a few things. Um, First of all, people who don't experience magic. I think one of the biggest problems is the non recognition of it when it does happen. Because what you'll see generally in movies, and movies especially that relate with some kind of a skill, like the hero has some kind of a skill, some kind of a power, it's like it's only when they recognize it's like, oh, I have something special in me, that's when they start using it, you know. But generally we live in this space of there's nothing unique about me, there's nothing, you know. It's more of a very robotic point of view where it's like I am programmed to be this person, this is who I am, this is how I act, there, you know, I'm like a computer program. I just, things just happen this way. And the non-recognition of the non-tangible things in life, they really make a huge impact in terms of how you live. So for example, when I learned about intuition, if I had rejected it the first day, it's like, yeah, you know, I got it right once or twice, you know, this is just random, this is just, you know, it's something
Mm,
else, it's not, you know, it's not what it is, it's not like a power, it's not, you know, I would have never used it. You know, I would have, if I hadn't used it, to this point, I would have just considered that, yeah, there is no magic in life because, you know, like, yeah, I had that experience one, but it doesn't count for anything. So I think recognition of what you have. So, for example, if that person that I was talking about, if they start with recognizing, oh, I have something in me that has the ability to pick out these people who are just gonna run away.
mm,
Where's that coming from? Why is that there? You know, what is the source of it? If you recognize it, give it um, sort of importance in the sense of recognize it as reality, then you can do something with it. Then you can use it. Then you can go on a journey of discovering it and how it works. And that's pretty much every movie, every story ever
mm.
written or ever experienced in reality is you figure something out about yourself and then you go out and you use it to serve the world
Yeah.
eventually, you know.
So it's that awareness, that recognition of who you are, your own power, your own contribution to your life. I don't think you can have a magical life if you think life is happening to you and you don't realize that actually life is happening by you and through you. And so, well, maybe you can have a magical, I don't know. I sometimes, do you know, I think about my mum, right? My mum, I mean, we've not really had like deep conversation about this, so I'm not really sure exactly where she's come from, but she's always been one of those where she she just sort of feels like, and she will use the word God, right? God's looking after me. God gives me what I want. God always gives me what I need when I need it. And she's had a very challenging life, but at the same time, she always is aware and she will often say and give thanks to God for giving her what she needed when she needed it, resolving a problem or giving, something like that. So she doesn't but in many other areas she can feel like a very much a victim, so I don't think she has that conscious awareness. She doesn't have the awareness that she's the magician and she's the creator and that she can use it consciously. um but she does also experience magic and acknowledge it, and acknowledge that she has experienced that in her life. So I'm not sure where I'm really going with that, but it was kind of that thing of recognizing it um to different degrees. She's sometimes she feels like a victim, but other times she seems to know there's something more there. But I don't know if she'd put any of that power in herself. I think she'd say
Mm.
it's God. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're onto something here because what you're saying is that she recognizes the power, but she doesn't recognize it within herself. It's an external
Exactly.
force that happens to her.
Yeah.
And what I was saying before was the exact opposite, which is as soon as you recognize that it is coming through you, then that changes the whole game. Because,
Yeah.
okay, let's say I just learned intuition and I recognize it's like, okay, I can see people. I can really see their intentions. I can see their unconscious behaviors. I can see people. I can see myself. That's a recognition of my, let's say, power. The next thing is, okay, how do I use it? You know, how do I use it in bad situations? How do I use it in good situations?
Mm,
As soon as you give yourself that recognition, as soon as you start putting it to use, you'll see that, you happen to life and life doesn't
mm,
happen to you. You start affecting it from your side rather than being on the effect end of it. But I
yeah.
really think it begins with, give this great example because this brings clarification. As soon as you recognize it within yourself, you can bring it out into the world and change
Mm.
what you experience.
I remember Steve Jobs, very old video by him, and he was saying how a lot of us think that we don't have any impact in the world and that life is just happening to us. And he was like, the best thing is when you realize that you can impact, you can influence the world. And he said this thing of like, you can press into the world or something and it pops out the other side. You can do stuff and you can have an impact. And I think that's like where magic becomes practical as well, because it's not just a weird thing in our minds. And it starts with consciousness and awareness and energy and creativity and all of that and intuition, but it's also very practical. I think if you're going to live a magical life, it's because you act on your magic and you realize, like you say, that I'm not a victim. I'm an equal part of this universe, this life of humanity. I have an impact. I have agency. I can do things. Now, to really make it magical, you want to take your guidance from that wonderful place of self awareness, creativity, genius, and all of that truth, and then act on it in the physical, rather than just sitting up there in the land of fantasy and not doing anything about it, or sitting down here in the land of physical and mechanics but then being very limited in the physical world. You want to bring the two together, and I think that's what creates a magical life as well. And when you do that, I think you then invite in more of the synchronicities as well, and the things that are unexplainable. So you have to be an active magician, an active component of your own life, and take responsibility for the fact that you, through your mind, your consciousness, your focus, and through your physical actions, you are making dents on your life, the universe. You are creating, you are attracting, you're doing it all. And so that's what makes life magical. I think the minute you give your power away in any of those circumstances, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, the minute you give it away entirely, then I think you lose the ability to have that much of a magical life. Just coming to you. I'm going to do a comment, but do you want to share on that before we do that?
No, let's do the comment.
So, darling Lucy, I'm really starting to see how the robot mode blocks people from recognizing their skills, creativity, and power. Conformity versus expression, routine versus adventure, comfort versus being stretched or challenged. Isn't that so true?
Mm.
I want to just read that again. I love it. I'm really starting to see how the robot mode that you spoke about, which is living like robots in this little box in this program, blocks people from recognizing their creativity, their skills, their power. And so they go for the conformity versus the expression and the routine. I don't know why I feel I have to act this out. I'm going to act it out for you. And the routine versus the adventure. And the comfort versus being stretched and challenged. I'm so weird, man. I just did that on the internet. I usually just save this for our in-person chats.
So I think,
I'm getting ideas now. We're gonna make a show, Lucy. We're
yeah,
gonna write, and then we're gonna act out the message on the stage. But I love
I
that.
think I'm gonna clip this up and I'm gonna put it on Instagram. We're gonna be famous, and then we have, yeah,
As long as I get royalties, I don't care.
yeah.
Um, But yeah, really, really beautiful. Lucy says, "Love it. We need a sketch." Oh, it would be brilliant. It would be so nice.
We've needed one for a while.
Huh?
We've needed one for a while.
Oh, it'd be so good. It'd be so good.
Mhm.
But I love that, Lucy. Thanks so much for sharing that. Because that, again, that's, I just want to keep that on the screen for people to absorb. 'Cause it's so beautiful. Like that's where we really block ourselves, our potential, our possibility, our magic, because we put ourselves in the box. And we're born into a world that likes to put everybody in boxes and programs and robotic existence, in the matrix, as we like to call it sometimes. And you just live your life like that. But outside is this whole cosmos of possibility, creativity, adventure, expression, stretch, challenge, growth. And we often say the map is not the territory. So we're in this society where the map of our world that we've born into and have taken on is this matrix structure of routine, robotics, fitting in, being comfortable, just going for the basic things that everyone should be going for, apparently. And we're born into that, and that's our map, and we just navigate around that little map for the rest of our lives. But that's not the territory of existence. The territory of existence and is huge, is the universe, is the cosmos. Is, even if you don't want to go that far, look at your life and compare it to the life of someone who's creating a magical life of their dreams, still on this planet. They're not out in the cosmos doing so many alien stuff. We had to bring aliens in there somewhere. We finally got to aliens. They're not out there doing something. They're on the planet, the same planet you're on, and yet they are doing and living life in a completely different way to you. But they're doing it here on this planet. So what is it about that? Why are they able to do that? Because they didn't go down that map. They've gone into the broader territory of the world and existence and their own heart, and they've explored that, and they're expressing that, and they're creating from there. So we really, through these little boxes, we are cutting off our magic. And it's sad when you think about it, because think about what could be created in our own lives and our collective lives and the world if people broke out of that box and started to explore the real territory of their own consciousness, their own existence, and the physical world, and what we can do there, and their creativity. Imagine what we would have on this planet. Imagine what would be created. Imagine how human beings would flourish, rather than where we are now, where people are getting more stress, more distress, more anxiety, more depression, more stress, more worry, more shrinking, more hardening, more war, more fear, more that's where we're going down this map that we're all on. Imagine if we all broke out and just, wow, what could we experience and create? Would be absolutely amazing.
I mean, I have hope for one particular reason, especially is because how human lives work, and that's very well documented if you read fiction books, stories, movies, whatever. What you'll always find is that magic always occurs, like things always get better after you hit rock bottom. After you're down there, you realize, the world opens up to you in the sense of you realize how you got yourself there. And then once you see that, you can't unsee it. And so, I've seen a couple of people in my lifetime who've really struggled, who really, really went down, 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 down till rock bottom. And now they're not that person anymore, because they've taken it down to as bad as it can get. Like they've hit a wall. It's like, okay, this is it. Nothing worse than this. And so the only way, as they say, is up. Which is a bit of a cliche, but pretty much that's how it works.
It
And so,
does.
yeah, and so if you look at the world is going to shit right now. With all the wars, with all the craziness going on, but eventually it's going to come out of it, because when the peak tension hits, that's when magic starts. When you really can't take it anymore, when you hit rock bottom, when things are just the freaking worst, that's when you get out of it.
It's so true. And it comes back to what we were saying earlier about, look at how much tension we had to go through to then eventually create magical experiences and situations in our life. And absolutely, on a global scale, I think we are going through so much tension. And I think maybe because it's collective billions of humans, maybe it will go on for a little longer. It's not going to resolve in a week like our holiday situation might have. And but I think that's so true, and it can be hard to witness because tension is so painful, and tension can show itself in so many ugly ways as well, and it can be hard and hurtful to watch or witness and experience. But I do agree with you, like what you say. The hope is that eventually it will release into a
Hmm.
new level, a new
Yeah.
paradigm, into growth, into change in a positive direction.
Yeah,
um
I mean, if you remember the saying of what was it? The the can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm sure you'll remember. It's like the unconscious behavior is the gateway to the soul, or something like that.
yeah, the dysfunctional
The
personality is the
dysfunctional
soul.
personality is the gateway to the soul. I mean, what that says is when you go through it, when you see it, when you recognize, okay, this is bad, this is dysfunctional, that's when you open the doors to your soul.
Yes.
And that's pretty much, I bet, that'll happen. All the crazy things happening in the world, all the people doing horrible things to themselves, to others, you eventually come to a point where you're like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is horrible, because what we forget, especially when we look at things from the outside perspective, we forget that people have a heart. We forget that even the worst of the worst people have a soul, and so there is something within them that can pull them out. And when they're going down a horrible path, when they're through a horrible life, eventually, when they hit rock bottom and they see themselves for who they are in their dysfunctional personality, all that's left is the soul.
Mm, yeah. And it comes back to what you're saying about the awareness. You got to have the
Hmm.
awareness to look at yourself and see, how am I creating what I'm creating in my life? What am I experiencing? It's so interesting as well how we often will take ourselves to the lowest of the lowest before we get up, and
Yeah.
it's like, I often think about that myself. I'm like, why do I have to let myself go there before I rise? Why can't I just go a little bit down and then rise? i
Hmm.
i struggle with it, I'll be honest. I don't know why, but I seem to let myself go to the hell
Hmm.
of the hell before things start to rise up. And I know a lot of people do, and I don't know the answer to that in terms of, do we have to suffer that much before we can have our soul on the other side?
Hmm.
I'm not sure what the answer
I
to
mean,
that is.
I don't think so, especially
Mm,
if you have that as a practice within your consciousness. Like if you practice, okay, not going down that road and making your way out quickly, then
yeah,
you don't have to go through that. But specifically, what I was talking about was people who are unaware.
yeah,
People who literally just go about life as a robot with their eyes closed.
yes.
Eventually, there's still hope for them.
Yes, and there is hope.
Yeah.
And it's that
Yeah.
waking up moment, right? That awakening where things can't get any worse.
Hmm.
Actually, I watched a video the other day of a guy. He's a massage teacher on Instagram, and he was telling his story. And you'd never know this to look at him, because he looks very fit, very healthy, he's doing well. And but he was telling his story about how he basically hit rock bottom. So about five years ago or something, his partner, who he just called his best friend, so clearly deeply in love, she didn't want to marry him, and that broke him. So he just ran away from that pain, right? And the dysfunction kicked in. Rather than facing that, healing that, he ran around the world doing all sorts of drugs, partying hard. He said doing things he's ashamed of, and doing all sorts and causing himself carnage. Then he came back to Australia like a year later, um, and basically he got very sick. He started having lung issues, and half a lung collapsed. He was in hospital for weeks. He couldn't breathe. They then put him on painkillers, Oxycontin, I think that's what it's called, and that's the one that caused the opioid epidemic in America, which has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, because they knew it was addictive, but they were giving it to people. So he went through that, where it was like very addictive, and he started to like it a bit too much. So then he's going through that hell. So he went through this hell for years, and now you look at him like he's healthy, he's fit, I'm sure he's still got his stuff. We all have our stuff. But he has transformed his life over a number of years. But he had to hit the rock, because he said, it was that pain I went through, that suffering, that illness, that mental strike, everything that made me look to change my life and to do things. So I think he wasn't aware at that point, and he went, like you say, then he went to rock bottom, and then he became aware. And that's awareness is such a key part of it, right? Awareness of what you're doing, how it's affecting you, what you're thinking, how it's creating your life, and the fact that you can choose to do it differently is a really, really important thing. And again, it's realizing you have agency in life, you have impact in life, you're not a bystander, you are an expression of creative consciousness. It runs through your bones, through your soul, it's you. And so to have the life you want, to heal, to grow, to transform, to change, you're the magician, but you got to wave your wand. You got to do the action. You got to do the magic with your own consciousness and your own actions. You got to actually take an active role in your existence. If I think about when I was talking about Arthur, if he'd messaged me, and when he said, message me, shall we meet up? Imagine if I'd gone into my stuff and gone, oh no, I'm busy. Oh no, I don't know what, then we wouldn't be here today. So I had to make the choice. I had to take that. And I'll be honest, when he did message, I got a bit of a nervous, oh, what's this, but I didn't let that win. I went, no, the greater truth for me is to say yes. And so I did. And look what's unfolded from there. When I moved out, I had a lot of resistance from the outside world. People were really causing, stuff that was making me feel guilty, making me feel bad. And I felt guilty and I felt bad. If I'd followed that, then I would have ended up staying where I was, but I didn't. I followed the higher truth and I went for my truth, and now I'm having even more of a magical life. So it is that you gotta experience your dysfunction. You gotta experience the stuff that's trying to keep you small, keep you robotic, keep you in the box. And you must always choose higher, no matter how painful it is. If something is true for you, you will go through the pain to go for that truth. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable as well, I guess. But yeah, I think choice, awareness, intention, these are all really important parts of having a magical life. And just looking at our title there, you are moments away from a magical life. Is it something we can do in this moment, Arush? How do you feel about just sharing from what's true for you? If people out there are struggling and feeling like my life is not how I want it to be, or something's not working and it doesn't feel very magical, and obviously everyone's scenario is going to be different, everyone's in a different state of consciousness, but if we're saying here, we're discussing here that you are moments away from that magic, what does that involve? Like what advice, what guidance, if any, may not be any, what comes to you?
Yeah, what comes to me is that the only thing you really need to do is start acting like a magician. So put yourself in the shoes of someone who's having a magical life. How would they think? How would they behave? How would they deal with things? What kind of outlook would they have on life? And act as if you are that person, and see what happens for you. Because all you got to do is start the journey, and then you learn your own style of magic, of achieving things, of being creative, and then you can start refining that. But you got to start with being that person. You got to start with, okay, even if you're not that person, but put yourself in the shoes of that person, and sort of embody them, and see, what kind of a person would that be? How would they act? How would they behave? What kind of actions would they take? How would you deal with conflict? How would you deal with purpose? How would you deal with, just going through life and having a good time? How would you go about that?
Yeah, I love that. Reminds us of the thing from which you've heard in various places, but it's Williams masterclass. So I think be, have, do. So a lot of us think we have to do something to have something to then be the thing we want to be. And that is the mechanical life, that's the mundane, that's the limited. But to really go out of those bounds and to create magical life, that's where you have to be it first. Be that energy, be that identity, be that person, be that consciousness, and then that's where you then have it and do it. So I think that's in the right order. Be, have, do, or be, do, have, be, have, do. I
Yeah.
think so. But yeah, the being it now, and that's where I think it comes into the moments away, because you can choose that now. I know it doesn't always feel easy, especially if you're not practiced in using your mind in that way, But the more you practice it, you can flip the switch. Just, I can choose. Am I little pinky, grumpy pinky? Am I limited pinky? Okay, what's she doing? What's she thinking? How does she act? What results is that giving her? Okay, cool. Let me clear that out. Now I'm stepping into my new identity. I'm magical pinky. What's magical pinky doing? How does she feel? What does she think? What does she do? Or whatever identity you would give that person, right? Like you say, think about someone who's living in the way that you would love to live in many ways, and embody their energy and really step into that person and feel, what does it feel like to be that consciousness? And like you say, what do they think, feel, act, do? What are they doing? And the more you do that, you start to shift your own consciousness and your energy, and that then starts to become your norm, and you start to live from that place, and things start to transform. But that's the work, that's the consciousness work, which many people don't know is possible, don't know exists, definitely aren't trained in, because it's not mainstream. But this is how we use our imagination, our creativity, to create the life we want, as because we are creators, we are the magicians. This is part of living a magical life. And it's using your imagination. I'm sure we just touched on this in the last session as well, about imagination, and Neville Goddard's quote, which I always love: imagination is the language of God. And you may not like the word God, you can use whatever you want, source, creation, core creator, whatever, but imagination is the root. And so anything you want to bring into your life begins with your ability to use your imagination to create it. That's where the start is. And a lot of us don't use our imagination. So I think imagination is a real, it's part of the magic potion. It's a big part of the magic potion. If you were making magic potions, you got to have a big old dollop of imagination in there, because that's a really, really big part of it. But again, robot life, no need to know everything. What is imagination? Imagination is seeing things that don't exist in the physical yet. Imagination can be fantasy, story, all sorts of things can occur in an imaginative mind that you don't know. But if you're only letting yourself see what you already know, then there's no magic for you, there's no creativity for you. So that's where we use imagination to imagine so much broader, imagine things that don't exist here yet. And that's a key component of being magical, is using your imagination consciously. It is your creative source, it's your creative tool, your creative power. And again, we lose that as kids, right? As kids, imagination is just for kids, it's just fun. And then you get into school and you start being taught, no, just learn this. And so anyone that can keep in touch with, often I'm telling 5 stories at once, which is what I usually do, and I'm skipping around. But anyway, I think I might have like ADHD or something. I don't know if I do, but I started thinking about this the other day, that I often tell 6 stories at the same time. And I'm like, this bit of the story, and then like, you can just figure out what all the stories were. That's for you. But going on to the next story, which is what I'm finding, is that people who are also inherently creative, whether artistically, writers, or whatever, there's all different forms of creativity, right? But whatever way it comes out of you, creating new things, the creativity, I think they are also very good at magic, because they go hand in hand, in the sense that, I just started working with a beautiful, beautiful woman. She's so talented, fashion designer. Oh my God, her work, when I see it, you just exudes genius, artistic creativity, beauty. Oh my God, I love it so much. And she's always noticing synchronicities in her life. She's noticing those magical moments coming in, because there's something about the artistic, creative expression and consciousness that it is the magical consciousness, that you will attract more of that into your life. You will have a more magical life when you are living at that state, creating whatever is in your nature to create, being artistic, being creative, whatever it is for you. So there's definitely an alignment there. Whereas I think the more logical and stuck you get, whatever, then you just don't have that as much. But it is possible. It's there.
So, first of all, I think something happened to your sound in the last
Oh,
15, 20 seconds.
okay. What
Um,
happened?
it's got like a static, or well, not static, but it's sort of breaking up as it's
Is it
coming
still
through for some
there?
reason. Yeah. So maybe
Oh,
unplug your mic, plug it in again. Can't hear anything.
Hello.
Yeah, it's still there. Um, Not sure what's happened here, but I do want to give an example. Okay, you left me alone in this one. So, as I was saying, I do want to give an example. Um, so, you know, the idea is that you get in your life what you identify with.
I can't hear you at all now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So, I was just talking, and are you there, Pinky?
Hello. I
I
can't
can
hear.
hear you.
Why can't I hear you now? Arta, can you hear me and can you hear Arush? Please tell us. Who can you hear?
I can hear you.
Can you hear both of us? Because I can't hear Arush now. He can hear.
Yeah, he can
Okay, so
hear.
Arta can hear both of us, but I can't hear you, Arush. What happened? Did you turn your mic off? Did I change your settings?
No, I
Edit
think
mic settings. No, your mic is on. Your volume should be there. Everyone can hear both of us. Oh, hello, Jen. Hello, beautiful. How are you? Hope you're well. Let's just have a little chit chat while Arush sorts out his mic. Maybe
it's
something
not
went
my
wrong.
mic.
I can see your mouth moving, but mind you, I can't hear you. Hang on, let me just check in with myself because everyone else can hear you, so it might not be your mic. Can you hear me, Arush? Give me a thumbs up.
Yeah,
Okay, it's me then, clearly, right? But I can't have a conversation with someone that I can't hear. So what I'm gonna do is hello, Jen. Nice to see you, darling. Right, give me one moment. Arush will talk to you. Maybe your speakers. Thank you, tech support. I have the best in-house tech support. He's wonderful. My speaker is on, but tech support, you might need to come upstairs, please, because I don't know what the speaker is on. It was here. Audio. What am I doing wrong? Okay, this is. Hang on. Oh, thank you, baby. I was fine, and then so it's on.
Out for a minute.
And then did it go when it come back in? Are you scared to be seen?
No, fine. Hello.
I think he's like hiding. Sorry, people. Settings. Audio.
You change speakers.
Oh, did it go onto this one when I unplugged it?
Yeah.
Pebble. Yeah. It's the Pebble speaker. Arush, speak.
can you hear me?
Yay! Thanks for 5 stars. Awesome. We're good.
Yeah, nice. So, what I was saying was that based on what we were talking about, is the be have do.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you experience in life is just based on who you identify as. So, for example, if I talk about myself from my sort of this unconscious mindset, and I have to identify myself, if I have to introduce myself to someone, I would say, hey, I'm someone who always gets sick. So I identify as
Always
that.
get sick.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and that's what I experience in life. That's my experience of life. Um, and so it's about being who you truly believe you are, who you truly want to be, who you truly envision yourself to be. And a very good example of this is people who identify themselves as poor.
Mm-hmm.
So many stories, people win the lottery, always lose it, because they identify themselves as, yeah, you know what, we're poor, we don't know how to handle money, this is who we are. So at the end of the day, life always brings you down to who you identify as. But then you can see the same example with people who who've become millionaires and billionaires. You see that sometimes they hit bankruptcy, they go down to zero, and then they find a way to come back up again because they identify as that person who can build all of those things, and not someone who will lose it. So it's really important to be that magician, to identify as that person within you. It's like identify, become aware of who you are, what your abilities are, and then hold that as your identity, as who you identify as.
Yes.
And then everything else will adjust to that around you.
Yes. I love that. I've been doing a bit more work on this for myself and some other people as well. Is exactly that, because I've only really started working with this a little bit more recently, but it's so powerful. It's exactly that, being it now, right? Being it now. And you have a choice. You have a choice to choose whatever identity you want, whatever is true for you. And it takes will. I think that's the thing, because it's not about logically trying to do it. And the outer world may not reflect that identity right now, and you may think, oh well, it's not true and whatever, but actually it's so important to do that work, and it takes will and do, again, imagination, use your consciousness, step into it, visualize it, be it, because everything at the end of the day is energy at its root, is consciousness. So that's where all material manifestation will come from. And so what is your consciousness identity? What is it at the root? Embodying it, doing a circle, right? Every day, stepping in and choosing to be that person today. How would she act? What would she do? What decision would she make? And that's when you start to move in the world from this new chosen identity, rather than the egoic identity that has been created for survival purposes when you were young, that you're now just living in your robot box, being the same thing, whatever. Break out of that. Choose your own identity. And this is the thing. This is what magic is. This is how magical life can be. This is how powerful you are. This is how much of a magician you are. But just no one taught us, right? No one taught us that we have that ability in here. And it's like you say, you see people transform from one identity to another, like the guy I told you the story about. He went from being down and out, drug addicted, doing all sorts of horrible things, self-destructive, heartbroken guy, to now healthy, fit, running his own business, doing all this sort of stuff. He did that because he chose to change. He chose, and I don't know what he did, identity work or anything, but this is one way. And you can see stories all the time, right? I can even think about it in my life. I used to be the one who, particularly in front of family, would stay quiet, feel ashamed about things, not speak my truth, blah, 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 hide, blah, blah, blah. And now everything's out in the open. I speak so freely about my life and what I'm doing, and things that I would have been very nervous and scared to talk about before. Those things are now open. So it's like I'm a completely different person to who I was even a year ago, because I'm choosing that, and I'm choosing to be that, and I'm acting on it. And when you act on it, it emboldens it, it gives it more energy, and then it becomes your natural state of being. So it's all here, right? It's all here. Magical life is here. It's not out there. And again, that's what we get stuck in, is the robotic, mechanical existence, moving things out there. What is it, the quote that I love from William? We're moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic, trying to change your life by moving the deck chairs when the whole thing is sinking. This is insanity. But there is another way, right? Work it here first. Realize who you are. Creative consciousness. You get to choose. Be who you want to be. Imagine that life. And then live from there, act from there. Joanne, says, this is the kind of work I've been bringing out this year. The higher self-identity. I love that, Joanne. I love that. Do share more about what you're doing, what you're experiencing with that. What are you helping people with? I think it's really powerful, because it's also the freedom we have as human beings and as creative consciousnesses. We get to choose. That's your freedom. You get to choose who you want to be. Just because you've been a certain way all your life, just because everyone else expects you to be a certain thing to keep them comfortable and to fit into their structures and their system, you can still choose to be something completely different. You can choose that, man. And when you choose that, Oh, it's so liberating. And then I really do feel that's where life becomes magical, because you start to see, wow, I get to choose who I want to be in this life. I get to choose what I want to create. I get to choose it. And no one has a say except me. It's all here. It's just something that's coming up, and maybe I could do with a little bit of more information from Joanne, actually, tips and things of what you're doing, because I started to realize, especially with the be, have, do thing, when I think about my career, my visions are very grand. I want to be, I even struggle to say it because I feel arrogant, right? I feel like, how dare you say this? But that's my problem. I think I should play small, because Pinky has always been, don't be too boasty, don't be too grand, don't ask for too much, sit down, be quiet. How dare you think that you should be anything great and blah, blah, blah. That's my current identity. That's the one I've been born into, have grown into. But when I look at my vision and we do the kind of thing I want to be creating, it's like Oprah level. It's like, we're going there, man. We're going there. I want to do media. I want to do production. I want to do TV presenting. I want to be speaking on stages. I want to be writing books. I want to be up there. That's my vision. I can't help it. That's what came into me. That's what's there. That's my truth. But right now, I'm not being that. Like, if I think about it, you can, like you were saying, Arush, choose someone that you embody. Let's say if I embody Oprah, what's she doing every day? How's she thinking? What's she working on? How does she make her decisions? What decisions is she making? What does she do for herself? How does she choose her relationships? Who's she working with? What's she doing out there? What's she acting? What's she think? Wow. What does that, if you do that exercise, oh, wow, she's doing all of this. And then I think, what's little me doing? Oh, waiting for someone to give me permission, feeling insecure, taking tiny baby steps. It's like, that identity is not going to get me the magical life that I want. That's just a fact, because structure has integrity. And a structure of I'm small and I should be quiet is not going to take me there. But a structure of making bigger, bolder decisions, creating what you want, taking your mark, making your mark, whatever else comes up. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know. But that's the kind of energy and consciousness you want to embody. And from there, you will transform and create a magical life. We have a comment on the higher self-identity. If you want to, shall we look at that? Or do you want to share anything, Arush?
No, I'm actually I've got nothing to share. I think I'm pretty good with
feeling complete.
that we've said.
Yeah, me too. Let's do a couple more comments then, because I'm also saying I've got a session, choices coaching a little bit later, and I want to make sure I have time to have a breather and a refresh, and so I can come ready to that one. So Joanne says, yes, exactly. As I bring myself and others through, it's about choosing to live at a higher level within. And it brings the ego with us too. This is important. This is good. It raises the level of the ego. So hang on. No, I think I didn't understand that right. I thought the way I took that, sorry, maybe I'll finish reading it before I start trying to understand. So as I bring myself and others through, it's about choosing to live at a higher level within, and it brings the ego with us too. It raises the level of the ego. It gets on board because it can feel the inclusive nature of it. Interesting, because where I took that first is that the more you raise your level to your truth and your true level, as William was talking about in his masterclass, your true level, then your ego raises its fight. That's the way I was sort of taking that, is it raises a resistance, because it's like, no, we don't do that. That's not my orientation. My orientation is this level, and you're going there. So I think that's how I took it. But ponder that. We got another comment, and Arush would love to hear your thoughts as well. So Joanne says, choosing our new higher identity through the wisdom of a higher wisdom. Yep. Yes. Choose it from there, right? That's important. Choose your identity from the higher, from your spirit, from your truth, not from the lower, trying to get somewhere. Oh, who would I love to be? No. All of that out the window. You want to go into that state of pure awareness, that consciousness, that magician, that soul, that creator, genius, whatever you want to call it, heart, love. And from there, what's my true identity? What's my truth? From there, you envisage and you call it through. And that becomes the thing that you embody every day. So as I see, it means that we're not trying to become who we think we should be, but more of who we truly are. Exactly. Your higher identity and your magical life is your truth. Everything else is just the illusion. that we create in order to survive, and so on, so on, so on. But I think that's absolutely it. It's becoming who you try. When you that's a big thing there that Joanne, you brought through. When you are your true higher self, your true self, your soul, your true nature, you will have a magical life. I just think you will. And that is what has always happened for me. When the magic has come in as well, it's when I'm really going in my truth and I'm living in my truth. You will get the attraction, the synchronicities, the more and more magic when you're living in your truth. You just will, I feel. One more comment from Joanne to follow on, and then Arush, I'd love to hear, because I sometimes when I'm doing live streams with you, I watch you and I'm like, he's thinking something's brewing, and then you do this thing where you look up when I'm talking. I'm like, oh no, does he think I said something stupid? Is he? And I'm like, what's he gonna say? So we'll give you the stage in a moment. Let me just it's the consuming of the beliefs, and that's what I mean about raising the level of the ego. Do you get that, Arush?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense, right?
Yeah. Is it?
So
Yeah. Please help me.
yes, so I sort of didn't get the first one really well, so I was trying to figure out what Joanne meant, but this clears it up. It's like consuming of the beliefs. Yeah, we can get really technical because now it becomes about choice making. It's okay. So you're saying that we identify who we are from our higher selves, and so the first thing is, how do we know what our higher self is? The thing is, we make it up.
Mm.
We make up what that is, and there's a specific way of making that up, but we can't really get into that right now. So yeah, we make that up. We choose our higher selves, and then we recognize it's like, okay, we have a lower self. We have our egoic lower self, which is which identifies as a total screw up or whatever that is. And so raising yourself from your little self to your higher self, it requires the sense of letting go. It's like, okay, so if you imagine the elastic band here, and it's like, okay, this is the higher self, this is the lower self, you got to let this one go to get to the higher self. And for me, that happens through acceptance, through consuming your beliefs. I guess that's what it means. It's like you recognize that's what it is, and you just allow it. It's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
there, that can exist. I don't need to hold on to that anymore. Let me
Yep.
be who I truly want to be.
I think what I also get from that is what Carl Jung calls integration. So we integrate our ego. So we understand our true self and our true nature and our soul, if you want to call it that. And then we integrate the ego so that the ego serves the soul, because the ego is your vehicle for physical orientation. You can't not have it. It has lots of dysfunctional stuff in it, but it also is the way you exist. Otherwise, you can't exist. The mind, the body, that's your vehicle. The problem we have, and why we don't have such a magical life, is a lot of people ego front, soul behind, or buried somewhere. They don't even know who they truly are and what they truly want. So the integration is to flip it and integrate. So we're not trying to push away the ego, resist it, make it bad, make it wrong, but you're going to integrate it, accumulate it. You know how the caterpillar goes to the butterfly. So if you think caterpillar is your egoic, robotic, in the box life, and then the butterfly is your true soul and your expression, your fullest expression. The stage in between is the caterpillar turning into mush and goo in the cocoon. And then those same raw materials then form the butterfly. So the ego is mushed down, integrated, and used to form the material, the lead to gold. It's all that same analogy, right? Is used to form the final butterfly, the true self. So I think that's what it is. We're not trying to push away the lower and the ego and the blah, blah, blah. It's about integrating it. And then from the way I see it, is soul is leading, intuitive mind is leading, creative mind, true identity is leading. And then the lower, not the lower, but the vehicle, the ego, is in service to the soul. It helps you create that and manifest it in the physical. So what does Joanne say exactly, Pinky? It gets to come back to be the servant of the soul. Easy to write in words, of course, and more challenging in practice. It is. It's a journey, right? This is a journey. And we were talking about the pain that we sometimes experience, and that again to me symbolizes the cocoon. I don't know if a cocoon is painful for the caterpillar, but that disintegration of who you are, the ego death, if you might want to call it that, or the what do we call it, deconstruction of Negredo, the ego, that there is suffering there. Sometimes there's pain there. Let's call it pain. It can be painful because you're letting go of who you always thought you were, and now you're like, oh my god, who am I? You're just a mush. And that can be very unsettling for your egoic identity, which doesn't like to not know who it is and where it is. But you have to keep going. That's what we said. You got to keep going through the process, hang with the tension, and then you will emerge as the butterfly. And that's where, like Joanne's saying, it's not easy in practice because it's uncomfortable. You have to disintegrate who you thought you were as well. Like there isn't a sense of letting go, like you said, of that version of you, but you're very attached to that version of you. That's part of you. That's your life. So if you want magic, you have to be willing to let go of who you were to become who you truly are. And that's, again, I think something that will put a lot of people out of the realms of a magical life, is they don't want to let go because it's too comfortable. And it's too uncomfortable in the unknown, because there's often that void in the abyss as well, right? The cocoon stage. Who am I? What am I? I don't know. That's actually a beautiful stage to be in. That's a beautiful stage of transformation. That's an essential stage of transformation that you will go through as you're emerging. But if you get scared, you go back to caterpillar and you will never become the butterfly. The ones who become the butterflies and be beautiful and magical and floaty and free and having a wonderful life are the ones that are willing to go through that tension, that discomfort, that unknown, and allow new life to emerge, new things to be born, to be shaped in the form of who you truly are, rather than your prior self and your egoic self. So that's the journey. Joanne's going through it now. It's very uncomfortable. Hang with it, darling. You got this. You got this. You absolutely do. And there's gold on the other side, right? The more tension and resistance I find in my experience, the more gold on the other side. The more of a transformation you're going through, because the little stuff is like, a little bit uncomfortable, but then you pop out the other side and it's okay. But when you're really feeling it, in my experience, it means the old is really almost begging to be left. It's crumbling. That old house is crumbled down, and that's painful, but it means something so wonderfully grand. More lead, more gold, more pain, more gold, I find, in my experience. So you got to just keep going. She's seeing the flecks of it shine through. Good. I'm glad to hear that, darling. Amazing. Arush, I could talk for hours and everything about anything, but I do have to make sure I get a refresher break before my coaching session, so I don't want to go for too much longer. But what say you? Sorry, I'm just checking. Let's do some. Jen says, thank you, Pinky and Arush. Thank you, Jen, for being here. Thank you for sharing your energy and being in this space. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you gave some things to think about. And I hope it gave you a little bit of a magical vibe for the day. Thank you. Arush, closing thoughts. Oh, I wanted to do one thing. Sorry, I asked you.
Go for it.
You must be used to this by now. I wanted to share the question that you shared with me a few weeks ago that I think is a beautiful, beautiful question. Did that come to you as something to share?
Yeah.
Then you do that.
No, you do it. I want to hear it from you.
Oh, come on. I'm dying now. Okay, someone's giving thumbs up. They want the question. Okay, fine. You explain it better. Look, now I'm in my shit. Okay, look. So, Arish taught me something that he came up with when he was coaching his clients. And he shared with me so generously this beautiful question, which was, if you could only so you could pick a choice that you have, you could pick it could be any aspect of something you want to create, right? I can remember using examples like if you want to create a marketing plan for your business, or anything you want to create. And the question you ask yourself is, if you could only create this by magic, what would you do? Your only option is that this must be done magically. Ask yourself, what would you do? So write that question down. I highly recommend people look at that, because we did it when we had our chat, and it was like, oh, I do this, I do that. My experience was very much what you've already said today, Rush. I'm going to be very clear on my intention of what I want. There was an element of surrender. There was, I can't remember all the other details that came through, and it's slightly different for different creations, but we're doing it like as well, thinking about the wedding that we're planning our wedding. It's like, we'll create that by magic. What would we do? And so you can, and the other suggestion you had, Arush, was, even you could do it for the next day. You said to me, what if tomorrow would only exist if you created it magically? So tomorrow is not coming for you. Tomorrow for you, unless you do it magically. What would you do? So sit with that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful question, and you can use it in any area of your life. A big choice, a small thing you want to create the next 10 minutes of your day. I want to create the next 10 minutes of my day magically. Okay, what would I do? And I can already see, like, again, I'd set my intentions. I'd get clear. I'd focus on love. All these things come through. Do that for yourself and then act on it, right? You got to follow through when you choose that. We have some more thank yous we will just share. Arush. So that was the key thing I wanted to take away with, really, is just share that, because it's a beautiful question. Arrow Artist says, thank you, darling, and thank you for fixing and being tech support live and on hand. Joanne, thank you for sharing so much as well of your experiences, your comments. Really amazing to have a conversation with you here. And Jen is getting magical. I'm very, very pleased to see that. Thank you, Jen. Thanks so much for being here. Arush, close it out. Let's go. Closing words.
Yeah, I mean, I love that question, honestly. It's like, especially with your day, it's like, what if tomorrow could only exist if you created it through magic? I mean, because what this question does is it puts you in the mindset of the magician. Like, okay, if I was a magician, how would I do? How would I go about it? And for me, the biggest takeaways is you got to be intentional. It's the whole thing of, you want the universe to give you abundance, and you're waiting for the universe to give you everything, but the universe is waiting for you to ask, what is it that you want? And for me, this is it. You got to start with specifically and passionately just recognizing what is it that you want, who are you, what do you want, and that will take you halfway there. Everything else is just you acting from that space.
Love it. Intention, know what you want. Absolutely. Really, really, really powerful. Good. So there we have it, darlings. Thank you, everybody. We've been going for 1:42. So yeah, time to have a little break. Thank you, Arush. Always such a pleasure, such a joy.
Absolutely.
And we will be back again having more chats, and I hope all of you will join us again if you can. And love your sharing, makes it all just amplify. So really, really love it. Thank you, everybody, and we will sign out. Take good care. Bye.
Sounds good. See you, everyone. Bye.